My name's Jeff Raymond. I'm a co-founder of Eat and Grow Systems with my business partner, Bart Womack. I've been working at this now for over 4 years. Started almost 15 years ago on this journey, and we're trying to bring sustainable food and energy independence to local communities around the world. We were brought to a conference down in Los Angeles called the International Space Development Conference, where we were asked to talk about farmers in the sky. And we actually were giving essentially the same speech, and then right after that we met in the bar and started talking to each other, and here we are. His skills in fundraising, financial management, and the connections he has, plus the work that he's done on LifePod, and the work that I've done with the Habitat, my background in operations and technology, made us a great fit for each other, and we've been partners ever since. I have a unique story where I really wanted to take my aerospace background that I had from college and from the Air Force and working on space systems as well as unmanned aerial vehicle systems with a Boeing subsidiary, and use that to actually help people eat. And I've always been torn between these two different parts of my life, and I felt like if I could figure out a way to help people have sustainable food and energy through technology, that would be a great combination. And from that, we actually have done quite a few different designs, but the grow towers that are behind me of what are the most recent iteration of that. The mission here is to provide sustainable food and energy independence to local communities around the world. We see a world around us that's trying to control your food. We call it from seed to stomach. That's what people are trying to control. So when you look at the big companies, they're always trying to control that entire vertical. But we're different. We're more like David versus Goliath. We're the little David that's going up against this huge machine. We actually believe that you as an individual should have the ability to grow your own food. So we wanted to create a system that's essentially like building a fishing pole and then teach you how to fish. And we got to sell you the pole, but we're going to give you that independence so you don't have to depend on anybody else for your food. Yeah, we're based out of Houston, Texas is where our headquarters are at. That's where Bart and his team are at. And then in Washington State, we live right on the border of Oregon in a great little town called White Salmon. And it's known, this area is known for aerospace technology as well as grapes, wineries, breweries, and just agricultural in general. And we're really a synergy of all those things brought together. We represent really the best that you can get from tech as well as from agriculture. And here in Washington State, we've actually stood up our first manufacturing facility just down the hill from where I live. So in Washington State, we're actually building the towers and delivering them to customers. So we're post-revenue, and customers are receiving our products right now. The number one most important thing that's made us successful is our faith in Christ. That is what's got us here. The people that come in have been amazing, and the blessings that we've received, that's the primary thing that's got us here. In fact, part of our story is my wife and I were sitting at home, I think this is almost 13 years ago now, and we're praying. We're just giving thanks to all the blessings that we have for food like we do every night. And, you know, I'm an aerospace engineer. I was in the Air Force. We were making really good money. And every night I would pray, Lord, please help provide food to those that don't have any. And just one day, I just heard him say, you know, why don't you do something about it? I've given you all these things. Why don't you go do something about it? And we did. It felt like I got slapped alongside the head, and that is what started everything for my wife and I. And then Bart came together through that connection as well. Now, what really makes everything possible now are the people that we've brought in. We have amazing people that have sacrificed to be here and done great things and continue to contribute and help grow the company. And the technology itself separates us from our competition, and it's awesome seeing that come together. And now with all the people here, they're all starting to put their own touches on it, and it keeps getting better and better. As well as the customers that have come in and believed in us in the beginning and got us this far. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say our investors who have made it possible for us to be here and continue to make that so. But this all started because a whole bunch of family and friends got together and said that they believe in us and they believe in what we're doing. And alone, we were able to get over $80,000 from them to make that possible and get this whole thing started. So it's not any one thing, but it all starts with our faith, and it leads through all the people and the technology and everyone who's made this possible. There's a lot of really exciting technology that's coming out in the market today. We have blockchain technology, we have artificial intelligence, and I get asked, you know, how do these technologies, are you going to be using that at Eden? And the answer is yes. We actually have, part of our product roadmap is to integrate 2 different actual AIs. Now, this isn't the same as what you're seeing with ChatGPT, but it's really more machine learning based AI, where we can remove even more the human from the process of having to grow food. So what we mean by that is using an AI to monitor local conditions and then adapt the settings in the tower to really optimize the food growth without a human ever have to be involved. And that requires little more than just a standard machine learning algorithm, but kind of moves into the AI realm so that it can learn the local conditions and then review the crops that are in the system, as well as imagery that would be collecting from the system through our sensors, and then be able to adapt everything based on how the plants are actually doing right then and there. So that's one type of AI that we're going to be using. We have another type that's going to be looking at the plants themselves, the health of the plants, looking for bugs and other types of things that go into that. Now, this is all part of our roadmap, is to be able to integrate these things in. In today's world, these are pretty simple AIs, but they'll be adding a lot more value to our customers. When it comes to things like blockchain technology, other types of advanced technology, on our product roadmap is what we call the digital farmers market, where you're actually going to be taking systems like ours. You can imagine them in, an apartment building, different levels, where maybe John in room 201 is growing carrots, and Sue over in room 506 is growing some lettuce, and Bob up on the 20th floor is got some broccoli going. And what we want to be able to do is reconnect everybody, like what we used to be, a community, families working together. And we'll be using blockchain technology to help secure transactions, kind of like Uber, but with growers, with delivery drivers, and with the actual consumers, and making sure that the cold chain is modified and you know exactly where your food came from, 100% controlled and secure through the blockchain. When you look at Eden, you're going to be tempted to compare us to large indoor growing, vertical grow farms that you see on the news. You'll see this with Amazon and Whole Foods. They're doing indoor grow systems. These are huge warehouses that they're like, instead of trying to grow out in the field, they're trying to make a huge warehouse that grows all this food indoors. And you're going to see that those are failing. And the reason they're failing is because their CapEx is way too high. Their long-term energy costs are way too high, and the labor costs that go into those systems are way too high. We're talking about robots, which look really cool. Silicon Valley-based growing, guys in Silicon Valley are great at software and they're great at making robots, but when you have robots and a really expensive software, and we're talking robots like, that automatically go in and cut and do all this, you need people with master's degrees to use that, PhDs. So their labor costs are just way too high. And they've always been that way, and they never looked at that because it was more of a fad when they first started. We designed the HAB, the life pod that got us all started with the idea of you've got to balance the energy equation first. If you don't solve the energy problem, it's not going to work. And we've done that with using aeroponics, with using the LEDs, with building systems that go into places that people already are, so you're not having the heating and cooling costs because it's already there. Our systems are different. It's a fundamentally different problem. Everybody thinks that scaling up is the answer. In this case, decentralization is the answer. What we want to do is, instead of trying to pile everything into giant farms, look at the farms, they don't work. Big giant farms do not work. They're not sustainable. The land is essentially being raped. We're taking all the nutrients out. We have to put in all these artificial nutrients, most of it petroleum-based. So if you really care about the environment, large-scale farming is not the answer. It's not the answer outdoors, and it's not the answer indoors. Farming and food is meant to be done at the family and community level, and that really separates us. That's a different approach than anyone else has taken before. So I'm Chief Operations and Technology Officer of Eden Grow Systems, and when it comes to growing the company, I believe in a crawl, walk, run approach. I want to minimize risk to my investors and to my customers and my employees as much as I possibly can. And that's a hard job to do sometimes. I'm not looking at taking a radical amount of investment money and going and jumping into a global market where we haven't actually figured out how to get to that point. So I'm more conservative in that sense, but I'm also learning to take more risk and step out as we go. So what I'm going to be doing with the funds that we're bringing in through Reg CF is growing our marketing campaign so that we can reach more customers. As we do that, we can get more reach, which then allows us to bring in more cash flow, which allows us to expand our manufacturing. I am looking at both a combination of outsourced manufacturing as well as insourcing that, but that's all going to be based on cost, and the world's cost keeps changing, so we'll see how that goes. I believe in a strong supply chain, but I'm trying to stay out of China because there's too much uncertainty in China right now. Now that drives my cost up, but it also keeps my quality high. So there's a balance there. We are more of a premium product, but I'm always going to be looking at supply chain. I'm always going to be looking at ways to make things better. And the last one I say is logistics. The last tactical mile is what really matters, and how do we ship these systems globally is something that we're going to continue to work on. But my intent is to have at least 5 manufacturing partners or facilities in the United States, one in each of the major regions, and then globally the same idea. So being able to either build these systems on location and then ship them from local manufacturing facilities to reduce that last tactical mile cost, which can be pretty expensive in today's world.